Every winter, people freeze to death on American streets. Grandmothers, veterans, young men who once had jobs. And for decades, the answer was always the same: build more shelters, raise more money, wait for the government. However, all across the country, something unexpected is happening. Ordinary Americans, college students, retired nurses, church volunteers are fighting homelessness with an invention so simple it almost sounds silly. AIR, inflatable shelters, inflatable beds, even coats that inflate into a home for the night. And some of these ideas are saving lives right now, tonight, in cities near you. So today, we're counting down 10 inflatable inventions that Americans are using to protect homeless people from the cold. Some of these were dreamed up in garages, some came from engineering classrooms, and at least one was built with homeless veterans specifically in mind. Stay with me until number 1, because that last invention is getting entire groups of people off the street for good. Let's get into it. Number 10. The insulated inflatable sleeping pad. When a person sleeps outside, the ground beneath them is often more dangerous than the air around them. Concrete sidewalks and frozen soil pull heat out of the human body hour after hour, all night long. A person can be wrapped in 3 blankets and still slip into hypothermia simply because they're lying on cold pavement. That's why street outreach teams across America started handing out insulated, inflatable sleeping pads. These are the same kind of pads campers and hikers use in the mountains. Inside, they have small air chambers, and that trapped AIR acts like a wall between the body and the frozen ground. Deflated, the pad rolls up smaller than a loaf of bread, which matters enormously for someone who has to carry everything they own in a backpack or a shopping cart. Volunteers in cities like Chicago, Denver, and Minneapolis load these pads into outreach vans alongside soup, socks, and hand warmers. And outreach workers will tell you the reaction is always the same. People expect the sandwich, they expect the blanket. But when they inflate that pad and lie down on it for the first time off the concrete, many of them get emotional. One volunteer described an older gentleman who slept under a highway overpass for years. The first morning after using the pad, he said it was the first night his back didn't ache since he lost his apartment. A few puffs of air, that's all it takes to turn a slab of concrete into something a human being can actually survive on. But surviving the night is one thing. Surviving it in total darkness is another. Which brings us to number 9. Number 9. The inflatable solar lantern. After the devastating earthquake in Haiti in 2010, 2 American graduate students studying architecture, Anna Stork and Andrea Shrestha, noticed something the news barely mentioned. When the sun went down in the disaster zones, everything became more dangerous, especially for women. People were injured stumbling through rubble in the dark, and crime went up after nightfall. So the 2 students invented a light that weighs just a few ounces. They called it Luminati. It packs completely flat, like an envelope. You leave it in the sun during the day, then blow it up like a little pillow, and it becomes a glowing, waterproof lantern that can shine through the night. It even floats. Their invention started in disaster relief, but American charities quickly realized something. A homeless encampment has a lot in common with a disaster zone. There's no electricity, no street lighting in the places people actually sleep, and real danger after dark. Today, outreach groups tuck these inflatable lanterns into winter survival kits all over the country. For a woman sleeping in a tent behind a shopping center, that soft glow means she can see who is approaching. She can find her medication at 3 in the morning. She can read. Volunteers say the lanterns do something else too. They give people back a small piece of home. Because there's a difference between lying in the dark, waiting for morning, and sitting in your own light. That difference is dignity. And dignity is exactly what our next invention is all about. Number 8. Inflatable privacy pods. Imagine losing your home and along with it, losing every door you could ever close behind you. There's no bathroom door to close, no bedroom door, nowhere on earth to simply be alone. People who work with the homeless say this is one of the most painful parts of life on the street and one of the least talked about. So, outreach organizations began bringing inflatable privacy pods to their events. These are small pop-up rooms about the size of a closet that inflate in a couple of minutes with a quiet electric pump. Set up in a church hall or a parking lot, they instantly create private spaces where there were none. Inside one pod, a woman can try on donated clothing without an audience. In another, a nurse can check a diabetic man's feet, a conversation he would never agree to have in front of a crowd. In another, a caseworker can sit with someone who's crying and let them fall apart in private, the way every human being sometimes needs to. Volunteers noticed something remarkable once the pods showed up. People who used to grab a meal and hurry away started staying. They accepted medical care they'd refused for months, because when you treat people with dignity, they let you help them. And speaking of dignity, there's one thing almost every homeless person mentions when asked what they miss most, and it might surprise you. It's number 7. Number 7, the inflatable shower station. Ask people who've lived on the street what they miss the most, and over you hear the same answer. A hot shower. It sounds so ordinary, but go 2 weeks without one and everything changes. Job interviews become impossible. People on the bus move away from you. Skin infections set in. Slowly, you start to feel like you're disappearing from the human race. That's why volunteers across the country now run mobile shower programs using inflatable shower stalls. A trailer carries the water tanks and heaters, and the inflatable stalls go up in a parking lot in under an hour. Each stall is a private little room with warm running water, soap, shampoo, and a clean towel waiting on a hook. In California, in Texas, in Florida, these pop-up shower days have become weekly traditions in some neighborhoods. Church groups hand out fresh socks and underwear as people step out. Retired hairdressers volunteer to give free haircuts right beside the stalls, and the transformation is stunning. People walk in with their eyes on the ground and walk out standing taller, smiling, shaking hands. One outreach director put it beautifully. She said, "We can't hand someone a house today, but we can hand them back their reflection. And sometimes that's the first step toward everything else." But hot showers only help if people survive the freezing nights. And when the temperature really crashes, America pulls out something much bigger. That's number 6. Number 6, inflatable disaster relief tents, reborn as winter shelters. For years, big inflatable tents belonged to the world of disaster response: hurricanes, floods, wildfires. Relief teams would arrive, plug in electric pumps, and watch massive white structures rise from the ground in minutes, ready to hold cots, heaters, and medical stations. Then somebody asked an obvious question. A deadly cold snap is a disaster too. So why are these tents sitting in storage all winter? Now, when Arctic air plunges into cities like Kansas City, Nashville, or Oklahoma City, and the regular shelters fill past capacity, emergency crews and charities inflate these same tents on parking lots and fairgrounds. Within a single afternoon, a bare patch of asphalt becomes a heated shelter with rows of cots, hot coffee, and staff walking the aisles all night. These structures can mean the difference between a rough night and a funeral. During severe freezes, warming shelters like these take in hundreds of people who would otherwise be in cars, under bridges, or in tents buried in snow. Paramedics say the hardest part of a cold snap is finding people in time. The tents solve half the problem before it starts by giving people somewhere to go before the worst hours hit. It's a beautiful thing when a nation's disaster equipment becomes its compassion equipment, but a few college students looked at those big tents and asked, what about one person alone with no shelter coming? Their answer is number 5. Number 5, the student-built inflatable insulated tent. On several American campuses, engineering students have taken on homelessness as a class project, and some of their best designs use the same principle as a thermos bottle. Two walls with trapped air in between. Their inflatable tents have a double-layered skin. When you pump them up, air fills the space between the inner and outer wall, and that layer of still air becomes insulation. There are no metal poles to snap in the wind and no heavy frame to carry. The whole shelter packs down into a bundle one person can sling over a shoulder, then inflates into a rigid little cocoon that holds body heat remarkably well. What makes these stories special isn't just the engineering, it's the testing. These students don't grade their work in a lab. They set up prototypes outdoors in the middle of winter, sleep in them overnight with thermometers, then interview homeless men and women about what they'd actually change. Make the zipper work with cold, stiff fingers. Make the fabric quieter in the wind. Make it a color that doesn't attract attention. 19 and 20-year-olds spending their winter nights in freezing parking lots, so that a stranger they've never met might survive January. If you ever worry about the next generation, let stories like this put a little of that worry to rest. Now, before we get to the top 4, I want to pause for 1 minute because there's something these stories all have in common. Almost nobody in them ever expected to end up homeless. A layoff, a medical bill, a rent increase that arrives the same month the car breaks down. For millions of Americans, that's all it takes. And here's the part that breaks my heart. There is real help out there. Rent assistance, utility programs, emergency housing funds, food support. But most people never find it until it's too late because the system is a maze of paperwork designed to exhaust you. That's exactly why we put together the Veterans Blueprint. It's our complete guide for anyone who's struggling to keep a roof overhead, anyone who's already lost one, and anyone who wants to help a friend, a family member, or a stranger get back on their feet. Everything laid out step by step in plain English, in far more detail than we could ever fit into a video like this. The link is in the description below. It could genuinely change a life, maybe even one close to you. And if you're enjoying this countdown, take 1 second and hit subscribe. Now, back to the list, because number 4 might be the most clever invention on it. Number 4, the coat that inflates into a shelter. Outreach workers know a hard truth. Some people won't go to a shelter no matter how cold it gets. Some have had bad experiences. Some struggle with crowds because of past trauma. And that's especially common among veterans. Some simply can't leave a partner, a pet, or their belongings behind. For those people, designers asked a different question. If they won't come to shelter, can shelter come to them? The answer is a heavy-duty winter coat that transforms. By day, it's an insulated jacket, warm and waterproof. At night, panels unfold from the back and sides, and the design creates a padded one-person shelter with the wearer's own trapped body heat doing the work of a furnace. In the morning, it folds back up and becomes a coat again. Home, worn on your shoulders. The best-known version is the EMPWR coat, made by a Detroit nonprofit called the Empowerment Plan, started by a design student named Veronica Scott. And her organization does something even more meaningful than making the coats. It hires homeless and formerly homeless people, including veterans, to sew and assemble them. So the invention provides warmth on one end and a paycheck on the other. One woman who went from sleeping outside to sewing these coats full-time said it best. She said, "I used to need one of these, now I make them." That's not charity, that's a ladder. And ladders are what the top 3 are all about. Number 3, the inflatable warming dome. Drive past certain churches in the Midwest on a brutal January night, and you'll see something that looks almost magical. A huge, glowing white dome rising from the parking lot, light spilling out of its doorway into the falling snow. Step inside and it's another world. Warm air humming from heaters, folding tables with crock pots of chili and carafes of hot coffee, cots along the walls, retired ladies from the congregation ladling soup, a couple of men playing checkers with a guest who hasn't been indoors in a week. These inflatable domes cost a fraction of what a permanent building would, and they go up in hours, not years. That matters because deadly cold doesn't wait for construction permits. A church, a VFW hall, or a small town charity can decide on Monday that nobody in their community freezes this week, and by Wednesday night, the dome is glowing. Volunteers who run these domes say the heaters are only half of what makes them warm. Guests aren't processed through a system. They're welcomed by neighbors who know their names by the second night. More than one guest has walked into a dome for the soup and walked out weeks later with a job lead from someone they met over checkers. Because that's the thing about getting people in out of the cold. Once they're inside, they're close enough to help in other ways too. And that idea, helping people once you can finally reach them, is the whole story of number 2. Number 2, the Inflatable Street Medicine Clinic. There's a quiet movement in American healthcare called street medicine. Doctors and nurses who don't wait for homeless patients to come to the emergency room, but go out to the underpasses, the wooded camps, and the alleys where their patients actually live. For years, these teams worked out of backpacks, treating wounds on curbs in the wind. Then, inflatable medical tents changed everything. Now a street medicine team can pull up in a van, and 15 minutes later, there's a clean, heated, well-lit clinic standing where there was only a sidewalk. Inside, a nurse can treat frostbite before it costs a man his toes. A doctor can manage a woman's blood pressure medication. A counselor can sit knee to knee with a veteran and talk about what's really going on. The medical results are real. Wounds treated in a clean tent instead of on wet pavement heal instead of turning septic. Problems get caught while they're still small and cheap, instead of ending in an ambulance and an intensive care bed. But the nurses will tell you the bigger change is trust. When people see the same faces coming back week after week, setting up that white tent in the same spot, walls come down. And often the person who inflates that clinic tent is the same person who, months later, helps that patient fill out housing paperwork. Which brings us, at last, to number 1. Number 1, the Inflatable Shelter Village. Everything on this list so far helps a person survive homelessness. Number 1 is about ending it. In several American cities, officials and charities have stopped thinking about one tent at a time and started inflating entire villages. Picture an empty city lot on a Friday. By Sunday evening, it's a neat community of individual inflatable shelters, each one a private unit with a locking door, a bed, light, and heat. Add a shower trailer, a laundry unit, a communal kitchen dome, and an office where caseworkers sit every single day, and you have something no sidewalk tent can ever be. An address, a door that locks, a place where a human being can finally sleep deeply enough to think about tomorrow. And here's why these villages work when so much else has failed. Caseworkers will tell you it's nearly impossible to help someone complete a job application, a benefits claim, or a housing wait list when they're in pure survival mode, exhausted and afraid. But give that same person 30 safe nights in a row and everything changes. In these villages, people rest, stabilize, and then, one by one, move on to permanent apartments. Several of these communities have been built specifically for homeless veterans, staffed by fellow veterans who understand exactly what their residents carry. Grown men who spent years invisible under overpasses now water little gardens outside their shelter doors while their housing paperwork moves forward, all of it standing on a foundation of fabric and air. So there you have it, 10 inventions and one humble ingredient, air. The same breath in your lungs right now, turned into beds, light, privacy, showers, coats, clinics, and entire villages. And notice what almost none of these stories needed: not a $1 billion program, and not a miracle. Just Americans, students and seniors, churches and startups, nurses and neighbors who looked at someone freezing on a sidewalk and refused to look away. Homelessness in America is a mountain of a problem, but mountains get moved one idea and one person at a time. Before you go, one last thing, and it might be the most important minute of this video. If money is tight right now, if you're afraid of falling behind on rent, or if you're worried about someone who might not make it through this winter, please take a moment and look at the safety net blueprint linked in the description below. Whether you're trying to stay in your home, get back on your feet, or help someone else do the same, it walks you through the programs, the paperwork, and the steps one at a time, in plain English. Nobody plans on becoming homeless, but you can plan your way back from the edge, and that plan starts with knowing what help exists. The link is right below this video. That's all I'll ask of you today. Stay warm, stay kind, and keep looking out for one another.